Brian Hawkins from Hot Blog Tips. And thank you so much for joining us, Brian. I'm really excited to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And Lynn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk with Brian and learn more about his blogging tips. And for those who don't know, Brian's blog is Hot Blog Tips. Is it .com, Brian? Hotblogtips.com?
Yeah,
And
hotblogtips.com.
and has gotten huge recognition. He's one of the top 50 blogs on blogging. So we really have an opportunity here to find out how to get into the top 50. So let's go for it.
Yeah, Brian, why don't you share us a little bit of the backstory? How actually did you get into blogging?
Well, it's been a while, but I back in the late 90s, I think, I don't even remember, 96, 97, my brother gave me this little 286 computer, and I finally was able to get online. And the first thing I wanted to do was build a website. Now, those was the days way before blogging or anybody really knew. So I think it was like GeoCities came out or something, one of those ancient things. And I started a website, and then from then I just got hooked. It was just like, wow, this is great. Nobody ever went to the site. Nobody read it, but I just enjoyed it. It was fun. It was like my way to be creative, using resources without having to, go out and buy a bunch of stuff, wood and saws and all that kind of stuff. So, and then eventually blogs came around, and I went to blogging, and all of a sudden we had that interaction, So I've had dozens of blogs, for various reasons, and I started blogging 2001 or 2002 or something like that, and it's just kind of snowballed from there. It's just fun. I've made the mistake of stopping and starting several times. If I maintained one of the original blogs, I think I'd be a lot further ahead. I've got a habit of getting bored of the website or something, sell it, start another one, because I kind of like to build it, and then once it gets going, it's almost, it's not quite as exciting to me. But this one here, we're going to keep this one going, because I'm not going to keep starting over and over and over.
So one thing I think that'd be really great for people to know about you, Brian, is why don't you share a little bit of actually your real background? So I really do want to get into, as we were talking earlier, about that, this is one of your passions, yet it's still a professional blog, and yet you also have something else that you do. So just, I want people to get a sense of like who you are. So share with them a little bit like what you do, what your life's like.
Okay, well, I'm 48 years old. I live in Michigan. I've been married for 30 years in August. I'm glad I got that right. I've got 4 grown children. I've got 4 grandchildren. I'm a truck driver. I've been a truck driver since I was out of the Army. And that's what I did then. So I've been driving for 30 years. And I work right around 60 hours Monday through Friday, driving a truck. So, and it's a very high pressured local position. It's just, you go out and you're dealing with more deliveries and pickups that you could handle, and every kind of person from every walk of life. So it's very stressful. So by the time I get home at night, I almost don't know my name. It's just, I'm mentally wore out, physically and mentally. So I get very little done, and then on the weekends I try to play catch up, and that never really works. And a lot of people say, well, why are you doing all that? Why are you bothering with the sitting up? I mean, it's not unusual for me to, like last night, I was up till 5 a.m.
I was too.
You mean till today?
Yeah,
Not last night.
I
mean till this morning.
I didn't go to bed till 5 a.m. this morning and slept for just a few hours. And it's not because it's work. It's not because I have to. It's because this is what I enjoy doing. The other part, the truck driving, that pays the bills, and it's a career, and and I've got a lot of time invested into that, and I'm fine with that. But this is what I like to do. This is where my fun time comes in. So it's not work to me. The social media, the blogging, the interaction with the people that I've come to know online for, in a lot of cases, 10 or 12 years. and it's just my way of getting that social interaction that at a lot of times I don't have time to do. You know, by leaving the house, I'm not a person to go to the bar or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the story. It's just blogging can, and in social media, it's open to the whole world. I mean, anybody can do this. You don't have to be a web designer, a graphic designer, or a social media specialist or anything. This is something that anybody can do if that's what you want to do. It's fun as long as you're not turning it into a job. That's my opinion.
And as long as you don't need a lot of sleep, I think that's the other key. It is, I was up till 5 a.m. too. I think it's, you get going and you just keep talking to people and interacting.
Well, I think one of the things I found, being in the entertainment industry, is that most creatives get their most creativity in the wee hours of the morning. Now, that's not everybody. However, I've found through the years that I do my best blog writing at 1 or 2 in the morning. That's sometimes when I get the most brilliant aha moments of creativity for a graphic or an idea for an interview or who I want to interview. So I don't think it's just us. I think a lot of people that are passionate about writing or in any sort of creative media, if you will, is people that tend to, or I have found anyway, to be more night owls.
I agree with that. I just did a blog post last night, and I wouldn't have dared publish that thing because I know from experience I can come up with some good ideas, but the rest of me isn't functioning properly. I've been up for 30-something hours at that point, and I wouldn't, so that went into draft mode, and a little later on today I'll go on and edit and check my spelling and laugh at myself for all the mistakes, and then and probably publish it tomorrow or whenever. But
now you bring up a very good point, and it is important that when we are these creatives and we are being massively creative in the middle of the night, that we do checks. And I don't even mean in the middle of the night. I think I'm getting more and more to the point where I encourage everybody to go through and read your blog out or whatever you've written out loud, because it's very different. When we're reading it to ourselves, sometimes we still miss something. We'll miss a syntax, I can't explain it, but the actual stream of the sentence. And when we're reading it to ourselves, we're just checking for, like you said, capitalizations or grammar. But when you're reading it out loud, some other things start to get triggered where you're going, wow, I need to add more to that. That's not really clear. Or there's just many different nuances and layers. I encourage everybody to not only look at it, reading it to themselves silently, but to read it out loud. And like Brian, like in the middle of the night type of thing, take the next day, and I would say go through it like twice, to yourself and reading it out loud. And you'll be surprised at the little nuances that might come to you. I always just find that very enlightening. And I've gone back like a week later sometimes, and it's already published, and I'll still catch something. I'm going, wait a minute, I want to edit that. I want to fix that. So, and then the other thing I think is also not beating ourselves up. We're human beings, and we want to show our personalities, and even using made-up words and whatever it is that's unique to us, to be dogmatic and being stuck to a certain punctuation and rhythm and grammar. I think a lot of times if I see blog after blog after blog and it's the same, it's the same syntax and the same kind of vibe and all that, it's really boring. I encourage everyone to put their own personality in their blog post, and it may be some really fun made-up words that you've made that actually impact the piece.
Yeah, and the back to the reading it yourself, I find that if I have somebody read it to me, and then I got to follow myself, so I'll save it as a draft, put it on one computer, and I'll read along as my wife reads out loud. Or another option is to use one of the many apps, the reader apps, because we tend to read quickly because we know what it says. We wrote it, so we're reading it the way we think we wrote it, and not necessarily the way it came out on the screen. So it often helps to have somebody else read that, and I'll have to read it along with her, because that's when I'll catch the mistakes, because, well, I've been married 30 years and it's hard to listen sometimes. That's a joke. But I'll catch a lot of mistakes. I'll go through and do all, my proofreading and editing and think it's perfect, and find 2 or 3 more mistakes when my wife helps me out. So that's a huge help.
So you just mentioned a reader app. Can you actually actually make sure you send me some of those information, so I'll put that when we put together the piece as well. But can you say out loud a couple of the reader apps that you actually use or enjoy?
Let's see. The one that I have right now on my says iSpeech, and it's a it's just a browser, a Chrome extension. And what I do is when I publish it, or I don't publish it, I'll post the draft on the blog, and then I'll preview it, which brings it up in the browser, and then I'll highlight anything that I want this, and I'll click the play button, and the reader will just read out loud every word, and I'll just follow that along, and it goes at a speed that's real nice and easy. I'm not like just scanning over it as fast as I can. It keeps me slowed down, and then I'll hear the words, and sometimes it just say, and I have a bad habit of writing the instead of there, or I'll just leave certain letters out, but there's still words. So I'll also paste everything into Word, and it'll catch a lot of the misspellings. But if it's still a word, it's not going to catch it. Not always. It's actually getting better, but sometimes it won't pick up. You put in there instead of the or something. It often won't catch it. And by listening to that plugin, I prefer my wife obviously, but sometimes if she's not available, that's a nice option.
Perfect. I really appreciate that, because that's one of the goals of this. I also, Brian, would you also share a little bit to demystify a little bit of Google Hangouts? Can you explain a little bit how, if Google Hangouts is hard, is it really time consuming? Just share a little bit about Google Hangout.
And how you use them. Yeah, it might be interesting if you tell people about how you use them regularly for your blogging or for hot blog tips.
Okay, sure. Well, Google Hangouts is a creation of Google, obviously, and it's a way for us to do what we're doing right now. This is a Hangout, and have multiple people and like a video conference. And once we go to Google Hangout on Air, which is what this is, it's recording to the Hot Blog Tips YouTube channel, which will be removed, and Carly's going to take it from there and do a little editing and production with it. But that's those are kind of this. It's like an extension of the Google Hangout. So rather than having a private or public way to interact, this way it's actually being recorded to your YouTube channel that you have attached to either your page or your personal account. You can do it either way. And this really opened up video possibilities to almost anyone with a connection and ability to create these, a YouTube account and a Google Plus account. You don't have to have, you just need a webcam and headphones or a microphone. You can get as cheap or as expensive you want, and everything's uploaded for you. You don't have to have a bunch of expensive software and production equipment and people working to do all your editing and everything. It's live, so you have to deal with that. And I think this makes it a little bit more interesting. I mean, things happen during these Hangouts that like bring them to life. Sometimes you couldn't plan it in a million years, but sometimes it's good. Sometimes you're like, wow, I wish that didn't happen. But you know what? It's live. I'm sure that the media, on the news and everything's had to deal with that for decades, but it really opened it up for a lot of people. As long as they can get past the, I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I sound, which was me all the way 100% when we first started these things. And you just pretty much have to, just accept, guess what, we're just people doing our thing here, and we don't have most of us don't have the, the ability to do what they call the touching up with the, what is that called? The brushing up on your
Right,
looks.
right.
Photo touching,
Retouching.
photo touching.
Yeah, we don't have all that available, so we just have
And
to.
I think that's a great thing. I mean, I was in an argument with on Google Plus actually over one of our supercharger videos, and someone was like, "Oh, you know, these are just." Well, I won't say what they said, but I think that there's a wonderful thing to that normal people who aren't just, you know, blonde, perfect 22-year-olds reading off a teleprompter can now be online sharing their information, talking to each other. I think that's a wonderful democratization of the media and the video.
Well, I mean, we have a culture where, you know, we have to be a certain size. We have to look a certain way. We can't use, like, for example, when I'm filming, I have to wear my contacts, I have tons of makeup on, and all that other stuff. And you know, I sacrifice a lot of vision. I have very bad eyes, and even with glasses, even with these glasses, I don't have 20/20. So for me to actually put my contacts in for my vanity purposes, I sacrifice so much vision. I'd be looking at a blurry Brian and Lynn. So I finally started saying, you know what? Unless I'm filming where I'm out, the professional section, whatever, then I will put my contacts in. However, if I'm doing my own shows now or these type of Google Hangouts, I'm wearing my glasses. I love to see. You know, it's very, and I wind up having a furrow. People think I'm mad because I'm actually straining to see. And to me, it's not worth it. And the contacts that they have don't correct my vision to 20/20. So why am I going to sacrifice my vision to appease, you know, the powers that be that make me look a little more pretty, if you will? And that, you know, who's defining that? Who's defining whether I look prettier with glasses or contacts or, you know, whatever, or that I might be slightly heavier now because I had my knee surgery and I was thinner before? I mean, we could go on and on. It's a ridiculous subject. And I think it's really empowering to everybody that we just accept where we are, who we are. Now, I'm not saying be lazy about it. I think we all need to take care of ourselves, and that's an important aspect of life. And at the same time, we still have to accept what we look like, who we are, what our voice sounds like, and actually own that and be with that.
Well, and it's real. I mean, I think these are really taken off. And YouTube, I think, has really benefited from this and their rapid growth recently. These Hangouts have really, I mean, I was just listening to a real nice video with Andy Jenkins and Mike Gilsame, and I mean, those are some big shots here in internet marketing, and they just decided they were going to use Hangouts for all of their videos in the future. That's how they're going to start doing it for their communication. It's pretty powerful. You can get on here and convey a message and get it across a broad spectrum without the time and resources and money and effort that it was taking just a short year or two ago. And I think that this is kind of a new trend. We're seeing a lot of people prefer, I know I do, I prefer the realism on a Hangout than I do with this huge production where you kind of in the back of your mind kind of thinking, well, this is scripted, it's phony, it's fake, you know, and the whole time you're trying to read between the lines, you know, what do I believe, what don't I believe? I mean, you have that no matter what because we're all human, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like a marketing ploy every time somebody gets out here and has a conversation. So I think that is appealing to a real broad spectrum of people.
Well, if you look at the entertainment industry, reality TV is the it factor, if you will. I mean, now the funny part about reality TV, though, some of the shows are semi-scripted,
right,
and some of them are fully scripted, and most people don't know that. So, and again, it takes, and I've been on a reality show, so I actually really know what that's like. I mean, 24/7 cameras for, 31 days? Anyways, my point is, the Google Hangouts brings a different type of realism because it is in the moment. A reality show is not, it is in the moment to some degree. However, then it goes to the editors, and half the stuff that actually you'd think would be on it is on the editing floor, and what they're choosing for ratings and drama winds up being on air. So I really do think that the Google Hangouts allows people to see the real people. I mean, it's one thing this is the one thing that Lynn and I talk about a lot, about authenticity and being ourselves. And I know, Brian, you did a hangout with your partners. Actually, by the way, can you actually please share your partners' names? Because I know Hot Blog Tips isn't just you. So can we just like put that out there now? Because I actually want to address that for a minute.
Well, thank you for doing it. I should have said that right from the start.
I'm like, Hot Blog Tips, and I know he's got partners, so can we actually just say both their names? And I don't know if you have a screenshot, you can actually put that in now and just show their faces. That'd be great.
Well, I'm on a different computer right now, and it would take me a little digging up to do.
Don't worry about it. I'll put it in when I do the editing.
But we do these weekly hangouts, and we've got, I don't know, 130 videos or something right now on the YouTube channel. And we've been doing this for a year or so, a little over a year maybe. And it's Mitch Mitchell of I'mJustSharing.com. He's one of the we call it the Hot Blog Tips Hangout crew. And Cheryl Locke from FuzzyWuzzyAnapales.com. And Cheryl is pretty much the video expert that we use. She's the one that has all the technical know-how. I'm just there for the ride, really. I don't know. I mean, she keeps us straight, and she keeps our channel together, and she's responsible for all that. Cheryl also does a lot of blogging on Hot Blog Tips, and both Cheryl and Mitch are also newsletter partners. So each one of them we send out 2 issues every week, and each one has their own tips. Cheryl, in her case, she does video tips, and we usually get that out on Monday or Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday, depending on how the week's going. And then usually on Fridays we'll send Mitch's out, and he does the featured blogging tip each week. And it's worked out great. I encourage people to find people that they can work with and get along with, and network together, and try to create and build on whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish as a team, rather than trying to do everything all on our own and compete with everybody under the sun. That's very stressful, and is really end up badly. So and I want to bring up one quick thing. That's one of the reasons that I love blogging. I mean, blogging is Elaine from basicblogtips.com. I'm hotblogtips.com. She's basicblogtips.com. Any field that you go to, we should be at each other's throats as competitors. And I consider Elaine a good friend. I care for Elaine. So that's a whole different way to look at business. I mean, you don't have to trying to keep kicking the legs out from one another, trying to stay ahead. Everybody helps. There's dozens and dozens of bloggers I can have a problem with in any other business. They would be considered my competitor, and I can pick up the phone or send them an email or get hold of them on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus, and they're right there to help. I mean, without fail. I never had anybody saying, "I'm sorry, I'm too busy, I can't help you." I mean, it's that type of world, and that to me is one of the biggest benefits of blogging. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off into left field there, but I should have said that earlier.
You bring up a very valuable tool, though. As one of my phrases is conscious business collaboration. We always want to be in the limelight. We want to be the CEO of this or the title of that. And it really takes teamwork. It takes collaboration for anything to come to fruition. Like me and Lynn now are partners on SuperChargers, right? You have your partnership with your people. The more and more people get that the new model of business is joint ventures and collaboration, the more successful people will be. It's very exhausting to do everything by yourself. And we all have our own kind of fan bases, if you will. And if Lynn's sharing, and I'm sharing, and Brian's sharing, right, and Cheryl's sharing, and it's just that viral effect. It's the ripple effect, and it's such an important factor. What I do want to just touch back on before you said introduce your partners was the reason why I brought that up is it's one thing, this goes back to entertainment business. You see someone, do a movie, okay, and they look a certain way, and then they write a blog post and everything's all frou-frou or whatever, and then in a commercial they're another way. But what I like about the reality base or in the moment base of the Google Hangouts is your true personality comes out. And if you're one way in one area, eventually that's going to show up. And the Google Hangouts, people can actually see your personality. They can see, like me, I talk with my hands, I'm very animated. That's just really who I am, right? It shows more of who we really are, because these type of Hangouts don't, you can't filter the little nuances. Now, I'm going to be editing this, but I'm editing out what we're saying. I'm just adding a front end and a back end. I have no intention of actually editing out our conversation. And I wanted this Google Hangout to just be literally the Google Hangout and just adding a front end and a back end. And so I just think it's really important for people to get that. That is another reason why people like Google Hangouts, because it really does show a different side or the real personality of someone without any fake facades, if you will.
Sure.
I think also that you can now engage up to, it was 10, now isn't it 15, Brian, that you can bring into a Hangout? Or maybe that's just if you have a certain kind of account. But it allows you to really be engaging a lot of people in the discussion instead of it being just the way, we're flipping around from person to person. If, as opposed to the old model of there was the speaker and no one else. It's a much more collaborative, engaging, involving way to work. And I think that's, much stronger for all of us. We end up, our strengths magnify when we do it this way.
The one thing I think is that Google has done, which is better now, is before they didn't have that mute feature when people are typing. If there's someone in Google Hangout that's continually typing and all you hear, so they have added a few features which I think have made it a little more user-friendly. So you can mute a person who's constantly doing that. And so actually, Brian, can you actually go over some of the? I know because they keep on switching it and switching it. Can you go over some of the, benefits to Google Hangout or some of their little tidbits or nuances that are going on right now? I know you're not. I know you said that you're not the techie part. I know, however, you do know some about Google Hangout because you use it every week. So, what are some things that you found have been a bonus or a benefit to using Google Hangout, and what are some things that you're thinking are being a little tricky right now, or a little more, I guess, if you would say, a pain, if you will?
Okay, sure. This is a personal feeling, but I'm going to start with the negative first. One of the bad things about, and it's not necessarily bad, but one of the things that I see with the Google Hangouts is they go so long, and there's so many of them, and I've got a computer sitting to my left here with maybe 30 or 40 tabs opened up, and on those are 5 or 6 Google Hangouts, and one of them's over 3 hours long.
Oh my God!
Wow.
I'm trying to find time to watch these, and this is a great business idea. If somebody can figure out a way to watch these things faster, I think you make a lot of money if you can come up with an app. If one of them app-savvy technical people can figure that out, I would probably buy it, because if I could just fast-forward that to like twice the speed and still be able to, because I can't keep up. So that's the one thing. There's so much great content out there, and some of it you think, well, I'm going to listen to the first part of it and maybe skip through to. I can't, because some of these, you're hanging on every word. So the TV stays off all the time now. I'm watching videos online, so that's really the only negative I can think about. Other than it being live and it's tough to edit, you can go, you can just pull it off of your YouTube and do the editing or whatever. You can edit these and upload them again later. One of the benefits, the biggest benefit to them that I believe, and we just touched on it a few minutes ago, is to get to see the real person. There's a lot of people that I knew for a long time, and it wasn't that they were being phony or trying to, pretend to be somebody they weren't. It's just we're so limited in print. So I'm reading their blogs for years, and then I see them in a Hangout, and I'm like, I really, other than, the avatars and images that they posted, I really didn't even know what they look like. And it kind of brings you closer. It's like, I don't want to start naming names, but I'll watch it, and it's like, wow, I'm glad I seen that. And all of a sudden, I'm subscribing to their channels and looking for them all over the place, because now you're seeing a real person behind that blog, and it creates a connection. And almost every case, I can't think of anybody that I watched and thought, I don't like him no more, or I don't like her anymore. I haven't had that yet. So I think that's a huge plus to these Hangouts that has brought so many people, to the forefront where you could see who they really are instead of who you thought they were, or the
Right.
way you read into it. Because we all read things differently. This is one of the problems with texting and stuff. You'll send somebody a text and they'll take it on a whole different, you know.
You're yelling at me. Why are you yelling at me on text when you use caps? Like, I never got
Right,
that. It's
right.
like what people get all upset. I know people by accident hit the capitalization thing, and so the whole thing will come out in capitals, and people automatically get defensive. Oh my God, why are you yelling at me? I'm like, really? Can you not read the sentence without and see the words before you're thinking someone's yelling at you? I mean, we get wrapped up in the dogmas and the philosophies of certain things have to be a certain way instead of just looking at the actual context. And if you know the person, I know Brian, right? I know Lynn. So if Lynn sends me a text, even if it's in all capitals, I'm going to look at it and go, oh, she probably just by accident did that. I know her personality. I know she's not yelling at me. She's not even talking to Brian. We go back and forth, we banter. He may have one word that's bold in highlights. I know he's say, okay, look at that word. This is important. So it's kind of know your people. Actually know who you're interacting with, so you actually know the personality and you know kind of what they're attempting to say to you.
And we all have those personalities, and it's really you've got to be a very good writer to be able to convey that personality, and I'm not that good. So these videos and these Hangouts just allow that personality to be seen by the people that you may have known for an hour or for a decade. It's just really opened the doors up for a lot more interaction. Blogging internet action, I don't know if you guys have noticed, it seems to be down all across the spectrum. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. People are finding, even very, very popular blogs are seeing less and less comments. I believe that's just part of the growth of blogging, because now we have all these other platforms and avenues to where we can interact. It's no longer just comments on the bottom of a blog. I see a lot of people when I get these emails and stuff panicking. I'm not getting comments. Don't worry about it. Just keep interacting. Just interact and do the thing that you want to do, and don't worry about those numbers. It's just a little detail. That's just because we're growing and we've got these videos and the Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus. You don't necessarily have to put a 3-sentence comment below a blog post to interact a little bit. It's grown beyond that.
Do you find, Brian, that Google Plus helped you with your interaction on your blog? Do you find people going back and forth between them?
Google Plus is catching on kind of slow, for people outside tech and blogging. It's catching on slow. Facebook is still the king of the hill right now. There's some SEO benefits to Google Plus, a lot.
Right.
We've got the personalized search now in authority, or we've got where now you can have you could put those Google interactions right on your blog. It started with Blogger, and then some creative person came up with a way to do it on WordPress. So we're seeing that a lot, and those are bringing more traffic to your blog. And yeah, I think it's just another way to interact. I think we've had the same thing with Twitter and Facebook. So I don't really think that if you're going on these networks just to drive traffic to your blog or your website, you're probably going to be disappointed, because it's all more than that. They all work together. I'll often use my blog to funnel traffic to the social networks, to connect with them outside of the blog. But I do think a blog or a website is important to have your own content, and something that can't be changed. They're not going to change the terms of service on you or start charging everybody. Or we've seen in the past, just to close the doors on you. It's like, wow, I've invested 5 years into this thing, and all of a sudden my stuff's gone. It's important to me anyway to have my content under my own control as much as I can. I just have to pay that hosting, and keep it secure, without getting hacked into and that type of thing. But short of that, it's all works together. It's just like this web of support. They support one another. It's just not one-sided. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. So keeping to our under an hour situation like you were talking about, one of the things I've also pointing out is more and more is, as I know you do too, is shorter videos. Is making the videos, you have 15 minutes and doing more of those than like we're having a longer discussion here. So I would like to end so we don't drown people out for hours of conversation. So Brian, I'd love for you to leave the audience with at least 3 blogging tips and 3 Google Hangout tips.
Wow, that's a tough one.
Okay, or you can narrow it down to one really golden nugget and another golden nugget.
Well, with the blogging, I'm going to say probably the biggest question I get, and this is very often, how do you make money blogging? And that's a natural question, but it's really short-sighted. I hate to say that, but it really is. There's so many reasons to blog. As far as without even the personal. You want a personal blog. You want to convey a message. All those things are great. But if you're a business and you want to know why you should blog, it's not just to put up some banner ads or some AdSense or some affiliate links and bring in income. All that could be done, but it's tough. To be honest, everybody's trying and very few really make a sustainable, significant income off of their blogs. But I mean, you could do brand awareness, customer support, SEO. If you have a blog, a website, that blog can, give you content that Google wants. Product reviews, like I said, you could do the affiliate sales. You can use it for a traffic funnel. That doesn't necessarily mean to a sales page. Just like I said, I'll funnel traffic to social media when I want growth in one area or another. The biggest benefit for blogging is your influence and your reputation. It allows you to become an expert or show that you're an expert in your field. So, and the interaction, you can get customer interaction, or it doesn't have to, be a customer. If you're not got a local business or a big business, it doesn't matter. But you have that interaction.
Basically, having the blog basically allows people to go to our blogs and read that we actually do know what we're talking about, and sharing our content. People want to know that you do know what you're doing. They want to know that you have experience. They want to know that you have a voice and it shares all that. So can you then finally end this with a golden nugget about Google Hangouts?
Yeah, be yourself. Don't try to fake it. You're not going to be able to sustain that. Let your personality come out. We can't please everyone. There's going to be people that just can't stand us. Just live with it. Learn it. It doesn't matter. Just be yourself. And the people that like you and follow you for you are going to be there long term. You're just doing yourself and everyone else a disservice if you're trying to be someone you're not. This is my living room. It's not a fancy office. I don't have a green screen back there with a high rise, or a, lakefront property back there. This is me.
And Sadie's on the sofa sleeping.
Yep, my puppy's over there taking a nap. She's a big part of my life, and she's part of our videos. But
she stretched a while ago. It was a little distraction. She got her moment in the video.
She did. And of course, we didn't hear Lynn's cat today. However, normally sometimes the cat will come crawling up on her lap. Anyways, Brian, I really want to thank you for being with us. And Lynn, thank you so much for being here with me as well. And for everybody, there'll be a whole page on the back, and it'll also be a blog post to have links to the social media superchargers with Lynn O'Connell and Carlisa Thorne, and all of Brian's information about his hot blog tips and his partners. And I will edit out the train effect. I'll leave everything else in. And the little. So yeah, I mean, it's going to have a front end and a back end, and it's going to have wonderful information from Brian, and obviously have Lynn's information and my information. And please, we love feedback. Feedback is how we learn and grow. So please subscribe to us, leave us feedback, and we'll see you all next time.